Dr. Red interprets these cactuars like language. He then suggests that their talk about the proto-relic could be a myth, and Yuffie says,
You're saying these guys have their own fairy tales? Sounds pretty silly to me.
and that's a forced line, obviously written to transition to the next moment in like a specific way, because, oh, that's so silly. They have their own fairy tales. Like, it's just, there's no other reason for that line.
Because no cultures have their own fairy tales, right? That doesn't exist.
But then we hear a voice. So, you guys.
You can't even tell it with a straight face. This is so good.
I can't even say it. We hear a voice say, hang on a sec, who you calling a fairy?
Yeah.
Hang on a sec. Who are you calling a fairy?
and it's like, fuck, I can't even get through this, you guys. This is killing me. The first time I saw this, I was like, what in the bleep is happening?
It was so good.
Okay.
Hey, we've already seen him before. We just didn't know who he was.
Yeah, we saw him in the gold saucer, like in the story that's
In the
projected.
hologram,
It's
yeah.
like makes me cry. It was so ridiculous to me. Okay, so this thug, I can't even.
By the way, this
Okay.
is one of those areas where I lament the fact that they don't pull in popular like third-party music. I love their music. I'm not criticizing it, but there's like certain like things that you could bring in
Okay.
at this moment and just nail it, but we couldn't.
90s thug music would absolutely be appropriate at this moment. If you're gonna play it, that's.
I wasn't even thinking that.
Oh, I am.
But
like,
I'll
okay.
let you introduce the character first, and then I'll talk about it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so this thug street goblin creature walks out of the shadows.
Who's like 2 feet tall.
Right, he's like 2 feet tall. And when I say like thug street goblin, it's not just some like typical Final Fantasy goblin creature. It's a goblin wearing high top sneakers, shorts, a wife beater, and a vest with boxing gloves.
Like giant boxing gloves.
Yeah, and a black beanie with the letter G on it. And
Does he have a gold chain on, or was that just my AI version? of him?
I can't remember if he had a gold chain, but he totally could have. Like,
I mean, it fits, right?
you might as well just throw that in, you know? And he talks like someone from the inner city 30 years ago.
Speech ain't that hard, lady. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Literally, right? I was gonna say, I could pinpoint him in time to when he would have been around.
Yeah. Well, he has high top sneakers.
He has the wife beater, but on top of it is like one of those life preserver vests.
Yeah, the life like Marty
Marty
McFly
McFly,
wears.
but-
And
But it's like yellow instead of red or whatever.
totally.
They're tying so many things together with this character. Like,
I don't think they are at all. Like, what are you talking about? Tying what?
I think they were just like, "Bleh," and then he just formed.
The vomit just formed into Genji.
I loved it.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
The thing that came to mind when I saw him for the first time, we just left the Golden Saucer, right? And I know, Jolie, you put the clip in the last episode of James Brown being like the king of funk, right? That clip you put in was from Rocky IV, and that's where Apollo Creed plays the boxer that's the U.S. boxer that ends up dying, right, when Ivan Drago knocks him out. So it was like one, for me, I realized no one else is going to draw this.
How does your mind go to these places? Ernest, we're talking about Final Fantasy. How do you even like go from random reference to random reference to random reference? Like, come back to us. Come back to us, Ernest. Come back.
This is the Apollo Creed of the goblins right here. That's immediately what I thought. That's why I said I loved it.
Okay, Apollo Creed, whatever. Might as well be, because it was like totally out of the blue for me. And we haven't even said his name, you guys. This, ladies and gentlemen, this goblin is Kid G.
Name's G. Kid G.
As in Kid Goblin.
Yeah, yeah.
Just, putting that out there.
But like 1990s shortened thug version of the word goblin.
But when we say thug, you think like he's got like this demeanor, like it's like he has a high-pitched voice, like he's this little child.
Descended from a long line of goblins.
It's not like he's this menacing.
That's, yeah.
He's more like I know he's hilarious, but the beanie is the part that did it for me, because that's something you typically see like suburban affluent kids wear.
Really?
But then mixed with the streetwear and then the boxing gloves, I was like, this is some iconography I could not have put together myself.
No, it doesn't match anything.
Yeah, it's like,
The way they did this was just so good.
it's a hodgepodge of what is happening. I was so confused, you guys. And remember, okay, so let's put this into context, right? So While no part of this quest up to this point had been meant to be taken seriously, it all at least pointed back to Final Fantasy elements that we're familiar with.
Right, that's very true.
You know, particularly like the cactuars, which we know to be like silly and quirky, but they're also like a major mascot for the series.
Like, we're already bought in.
Right. We're taking the ride. We're having a good time. And even the sand giant points back to a common warrior character we know from the series, and we've heard his voice before, so there's something familiar about it. But now there's this solo goblin character that seems to be like plucked from a totally different planet and time period and placed here for what reason? Like, and I don't mean what story reason, I mean like what developer reason.
Yeah.
Like what were they thinking? And to be honest, when I first saw Kid G, something was vaguely familiar about him. Like, I'm like, did they pull him from the original game? I couldn't put my finger on it. So I did immediately assume that he had to either be paying homage to a character from original Final Fantasy VII that I just couldn't put my finger on, maybe from like an optional side quest or something, or that he was from some other Final Fantasy game and they just like brought him here. I could not believe the developers would put this character in here for any other reason. And this actually will surprise you, Spencer. So I went back and I checked my recorded footage
From the original game?
of replaying original Final Fantasy VII 5 years ago, but I could not find Kid G anywhere.
I wouldn't think that he's part of it.
Well, you wouldn't think. So I was more confused
Uh-huh.
because that, again, if he's not from the original game or something,
why?
it meant that when the game developers were sitting around thinking about what to put in this side quest, not only did they come up with the idea to put some totally like random wannabe streetwise like
Right.
goblin dressed like a boombox toting city thug from the 1990s. Like, not only did they think like, let's put that in there and then adding boxing gloves to it, right? But that idea was actually greenlit.
They're like, this is a good idea.
And I'm telling you right now, it was greenlit by somebody who played Street Fighter, because that character Balrog from Street Fighter was
Stop!
like,
Shut. No. Okay. Maybe it was random enough. It could have been from anything like that, Ernest, but I could not let it go.
Whoa! No need for all that.
And it was like disturbing to me. Like, I'm so involved in these Final Fantasy franchises at this point, like emotionally and mentally, that I was like disturbed. I was like not feeling okay. So I ended up doing some more digging, and there apparently is a reason other than stupid randomness as to why Kid G is in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth when he feels so out of place. Okay, so
Okay, good.
apparently, and some of you out there may already know this, but Kid G is in original Final Fantasy VII.
Okay.
He's a rare enemy. He's only known as a goblin, not as Kid G, unfortunately for him. And you can only find him on this really small forest part of a little island that you can only get to by airship that's kind of referred to as Goblin Island. And I must not have found that island when I replayed the game 5 years ago, but I'm pretty sure I did find the island in my original playthrough back in the 1990s because I was extremely thorough in that playthrough.
Yeah, didn't you follow like a strategy guide and do everything?
I followed the
Yeah.
strategy guide, the Brady Games guide, right? But I did everything. And that would explain why when I saw Kid G here, yes, he felt super random, but there was this like vague familiarity that I experienced when I saw him in this quest. I just couldn't put my finger on what it was. And it also makes me a little more forgiving that the developers put him in here because they actually had a reason for doing so, but only a little bit more like forgiving.
I thought it was just like totally random.
Well, a lot of people apparently did. Like, if you go online, people are like, what is going on with this Kid G character? And that's exactly how I responded. Because really, okay, you could argue that just because something is an homage play,
Right.
it still needs to be executed well in order to make it good, right?
Yeah.
Because honestly, even though Kid G was technically like a nod to something from the original game, it appears it was the modern game developers who decided to keep him in like his original 1990s rapper wardrobe with no updated design. And then they slapped a G on his beanie, which apparently the G on his beanie actually came from the original Nomura concept art. This is a Nomura character.
Whoa, huge surprise.
Shocker.
Nomura.
Right.
Yeah, there's no way that could be a Nomura thing, right? I mean,
Hey, but Nomura also designed Sephiroth and Aerith and all these people.
Nomura is very talented in many ways. I just don't love some of his story choices.
oh, yeah. We're just making fun. But yes, he's incredibly talented.
But then, he comes up with Sephiroth, but then he also created Kid G. So
Equivalent.
And really, who's better, right?
equivalent.
Just as good and menacing.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
I would put my money on Kid G
yeah.
in that fight
Don't underestimate him.
because he'll fight dirty. He has no honor, right? Like,
But I remember, okay, fine, paying homage. I don't know. I feel like it has to have good execution to work. Okay, his lines are super cheesy.
Who are you calling a fairy?
The voice actor is super forcing it, right? He's trying to play a certain vibe.
Given your present company, I'm shocked you haven't shaken that preconception.
This character is not necessary to even this mini story, which makes him feel all the more random because you could have just read us more Book of Kings scripture on the walls or something to let us know, or Chadley could have explained something to let us know what to do in this quest. He's unnecessary, which makes him feel all the more random. And I get that the developers wanted to include as many original game elements as they could, which I actually really like and really respect.
yeah.
And I get that they couldn't put, if they really wanted to put this goblin creature in the game, they couldn't put this, boxing glove wearing, high top sporting beanie goblin in a random forest to fight because it would feel too anthropomorphic to fit with the rest of the monsters in that region. It would hurt the world building of that area. So I get that.
They could have put him in where's the place where you fight the Hell House?
Like an arena. Yeah.
They should have put him in the Corel prison.
That's
arena.
my point. They could have put him in
Maybe.
any arena as one of the enemies you fight.
Because Hell House is just an enemy that you fight in the original game.
Right.
Just like they did the Hell House.
But you're totally right, where it's they make it this big deal.
Because you can't go in the combat simulator, because combat simulator is all the stuff we've already fought before, or ramped up versions of those. But maybe the Corel prison arena. But instead, they decide to bring him into this quest. And the quest was kind of a joke already to begin with, so maybe they thought this would just add to it. But I don't know. Okay, so I let me get to the conclusion of my thoughts here. I just had so many. I kind of respect what the developers did here in a way, right? But at the same time, I just think Kenji is so dumb. I think if they insisted on making it work, I think they needed to make him hilarious on his own somehow. Even if that meant going more over the top with the 90s stuff or breaking the fourth wall or something, because I'm going to be honest, I don't think a lot of people or enough people playing this game remembered the goblin enemies from original 7 to be excited when he appears on screen because they recognize him. I didn't recognize him, and I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan.
That's true.
I bet most people didn't know who he was.
Yeah, so paying homage kind of falls flat, leaving little else to really make him nothing other than bizarre and kind of cringy. I mean, maybe I'm alone on that. Maybe I'm alone, but...
No, you're not alone. Everyone hates Kid G. Do you think there's a single person who's played this game that thought Kid G was peak? He was the best.
I don't think he was peak, but I would say if you were trying to roundabout way get to a 90s stereotype, that's pretty close.
Ernest liked him. Okay, the way we were saying, Ernest is a fan.
Ernest is the guy that I was asking about.
I'm glad you're here.
I would have just had Snoop Dogg voice in there, to kind of bring it all together.
I agree with what you're saying, Jolie, because it just seems so out of place. There's this famous quote from George Lucas in the Phantom Menace episode 1, DVD behind the scenes footage. And he's talking about Jar Jar Binks and how nobody likes Jar Jar Binks, right? Well, he's like, Jar Jar is the key to all of this.
Jar Jar is the key to all this. If we get Jar Jar working, because he's a funnier character than we've ever had.
I remember when he said that.
Yeah, there's a famous quote of George Lucas saying this.
Yeah, that spawned an entire conspiracy thing, yeah.
But it's funny.
Was he trolling or was he being dead serious?
No, he's being dead serious. And to me, it's so funny because I'm thinking of the Japanese developers that they're totally working out this game. They're Kid G is the key to all of this. This is going to be, it's perfect. It's going to make the proto-relic amazing, So dumb.
In part 3, you're going to get Kid G as one of those, the 2-player attack thing.
Oh, like he's a synergy ability
yeah,
where
you're going to get him as like a synergy at the final
Oh,
boss.
please no.
That would be pretty cool.
Yes. Oh, I would so love that. And then if they just play James Brown in the background while the fight's going down, I'm there.
Never gonna happen, Ernest.
You're already there. You're already on board.
I'm waiting for it. Yeah.
So you were a fan, right, Ernest? You saw Kid Genie, thought it was good?
I was a huge fan. Yeah. At first, I was like, what is going on here?
You liked it.
Okay.
And then after a while, I was like, that was pretty good.
You liked it.
I like that.
I love that you had that
I
reaction.
love that you liked it.
Because, okay, with other homage moments, right, in the game thus far.
I'm sorry.
Spencer's like, we knew you would like
I
this.
can't believe you liked it. I can't believe you liked it.
Look, I like this better than having to run the stupid electrical wires all over the place to open the doors.
That's fair.
Well, luckily, those aren't your two only choices.
This was way better than that.
Kill me.
So with other homage moments in the game this far, like remember the random hiker that you see when you're climbing Mount Corral?
I don't get it. Tons of folks hiking up the mountain today, and not a one of them so much as nodded my way.
Yep.
So if you haven't played the original game, those moments are really random,
Yeah.
but at least those moments have some kind of logic to them. Like, okay, there's a weird hiker.
Yeah, he can exist in this world.
Yeah, he's got a gun. He's complaining about people who don't have good manners. It feels random, but there could be a hiker there who is acting that eccentric. It feels weird that developers would do that if you don't know where he came from. But at least he's a human who fits into this world and not some like 90s flashback anthropomorphic creature wearing Air Jordans. Like it just felt so, I don't know. Okay, I'm
Air Max 95s.
Okay. To Ernest's points, we did fight like something called the Hell House, right? Like, this is a ridiculous game. Whatever.
And that Hell House fight was over the top too, right? That's what I appreciated the most. There was fan service, right? Obviously, but it was like the over the top nature of it.
Whereas, like, I think people remember fighting the house.
That's what I'm saying. I wish Kid G was more over the top so that he would be funnier.
Yeah, they should have gone more.
Or more recognizable.
Yeah, because I feel like they didn't lean hard enough to where it was just awkward, you know, and like kind of cringy.
And how did you miss the voice acting? Like, you have Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre still alive. Like, you have an entire...
They're not going to get those
They're
guys.
not going to pay millions of dollars for this stupid goblin character.
Kid G is the key to all of this, all right? They need to get him.
Jar Jar is a key to all this.
I am so going to laugh if he plays some, like, monumental role at the end of this game.
He will not.
I am going to crack up.
Oh, I will laugh and cry. That's another thing, though, too. It's like, even though I thought this was random and kind of poorly executed, it's so fun that this stuff is in there because it's fun to even be bothered by these things because they're so stupid.
That's the whole point, right?
Like, it's kind of like I'm enjoying myself, obviously.
Right.
Like, I'm having a good time with Kid G, even though I think he's ridiculous.
Me too.
You're never going to be playing a AAA game with this high of a budget where they're going to spend time on someone like Kid G, right? Like, you're never going to go and play like a Western developed game where they're going to take the time to do something like this. So yes, it is like this beautiful, stupid unicorn of a game. And it's fun.
I loved it. I mean, now what's even better is as we kind of play through it, figure out like why he's there and what he's doing, right? Like it's a good story. I liked it at least.
I had opinions. But I love that Ernest loved it.